And you might want to have available with you a blanket or towel, and then perhaps also like a bolster or couch cushion or something to support your body in a few of our postures today. So, all right. So, if you would like to join me in a comfortable seated position, I'm going to settle onto my mat here. And as we take a few moments to really enter the space, I want to invite us to just settle into the seat, kind of finding the sense of being centered in our seat, centered between the two sides of the tailbone, centered between the front and the back of the tailbone, of the sacrum, of that whole pelvic area. Drawing the spine up long, resting the hands wherever feels comfortable for you. So if you're seated on the mat, perhaps on your thighs or your knees. If you're seated in a chair, you might be resting them in an armrest on the thighs. Allowing the body to just settle here. Beginning to sense into the contact between your body and the mat or the chair, whatever it is that's holding you up in time and space right now. I invite you, if it is comfortable and feels safe, to close your eyes gently or perhaps just assume a soft gaze. And let's begin by exhaling completely. And then taking a nice deep inhale and letting that go. Once more, breathing deeply in and letting that go too. And then allowing your breath to reach, to return to its natural rhythm. Noticing the in-breath and the out-breath. Observing as the body breathes itself. Once more, sensing into that contact between your body and whatever it is that's supporting you in time and space right now. Your mat, your cushion, your chair. Finding a sense of drawing the spine up long with the crown reaching toward the sky, perhaps floating the heart over the sacrum and floating the head over the heart. And as you do so, taking a moment to check in with your mind, the state of the mind, taking a moment to check in with the heart, the state of the heart and your emotions at this moment, this morning, today, and checking in with the body, noticing the state of the body this morning, seeing if perhaps you can relax the scalp, the ears, soften the eyebrows, soften the jaw, allow the shoulders to become soft, falling away from the ears, softening through the heart and the belly. Softening through the mid-back and lower back, through the glutes and the hips, through the legs, through the arms, bringing awareness into the hands and the fingers, feeling the hands from the inside out, bringing awareness to the feet, feeling the feet from the inside out. and expanding awareness to encompass your entire body. This body breathing here now. Beginning to observe how you are this morning. And taking a moment as we get ready to begin our physical practice to set an intention for your practice today. I invite you to consider setting the intention to ride the waves throughout today's practice, the waves of breath, of emotion, of physical sensation. Returning to the body, returning to the breath when each wave dissipates, as they tend to do. And if at any point during today's practice you are feeling particularly activated with your nervous system, you've lost touch with the breath, you're feeling a sense of pain or disease in the body, please back away from your edge and return to a safe posture, perhaps the posture you've found at this moment in time. And now once again, returning your attention to the breath, becoming aware of the next inhale and the exhale. And now this inhale and this exhale. Perhaps beginning to notice the pause between the inhale and exhale at the top of the breath. Perhaps also noticing the pause between the exhale and the inhale at the bottom of the breath. Beginning to observe the cyclical nature of this breath, the wave of the inhale, pausing, cresting at the top, the wave of the exhale, pausing, returning at the bottom. And as you rest awareness on the breath for just a moment longer, I would love to offer a short reading from Thich Nhat Hanh's Peace is Every Step. The sun, my heart. We know that if our heart stops beating, the flow of our life will stop, and so we cherish our heart very much. Yet, we do not often take the time to notice that other things outside of our bodies are also essential for survival. Look at the immense light we call the sun. If it were to stop shining, the flow of our life would also stop. So the sun is our second heart, a heart outside of our body. This immense heart gives all life on earth the warmth necessary for existence. Plants live thanks to the sun. Their leaves absorb the sun's energy, along with carbon dioxide from the air, to produce food for the tree, the flower, the plankton. And thanks to plants, we and other animals can live. All of us, people, animals, and plants, consume the sun directly and indirectly. We cannot begin to describe all the effects of the sun, the great heart, outside of our body. Our body is not limited to what is inside the boundary of our skin. It is so much more immense. It includes even the layer of air around our earth. For if the atmosphere were to disappear for even an instant, our life would end. There is no phenomenon in the universe that does not intimately concern us, from a pebble resting at the bottom of the ocean to the movement of a galaxy millions of light years away. I am large. I contain multitudes. And now breathing deeply in and letting it go. If your eyes are closed, please allow them to open. And we will begin getting a little bit of movement in these sweet bodies this morning. So, remaining in your comfortable seated position, we're just going to start with a few gentle neck rolls. So, dropping the chin to the chest and rolling the neck from side to side, finding a rhythm, a pace that feels nice for your body this morning. Observing the sensations in the neck as you find this movement. And after your next little circle, coming back to center, and let's roll the shoulders back. Taking a few shoulder rolls back, loosening up through the shoulder girdle, and reversing directions, finding some movement in the shoulders, rolling them forward. And after you complete that next shoulder circle, coming back to center, maybe rolling out the wrists a little bit, finding some movement in those wrists. Sometimes I like to make a one fist and give myself a little figure 8 here. For those of us who do a lot of typing or spend a lot of time on the phone, reverse directions, this can feel really nice on those carpal tunnel areas of the wrist. I'm letting that go. I'm now going to bring my right hand to the mat and sweep my left arm up and over, taking a gentle side bend, breathing into my left side body. Hand can also be on the lap or on a chair, the arm of a chair. Finding a nice opening in the left side body here. You might even find a little movement in the neck if that feels good for you. And inhaling through center, let's take that same motion on the second side. So left hand comes to the mat, right arm sweeps up and over, or left hand rests on your arm, the arm of your chair, or on the lap. Finding a nice side bend here, perhaps finding a little movement in the neck, breathing into that right side body. And let's flow through that a few times. So inhaling up and over to the right, and inhaling up and over to the left, finding an exhale here. And as you flow through this, please feel free to find whatever expression of this movement feels good for your body, maybe taking a little bit of a body roll from side to side. Beginning to awaken through the spine, gently, lovingly, and coming back through center. Let's take a gentle twist. So left hand can come to the outside of the right knee, right thigh, and you can take the right hand either to the hip, behind the back, resting on the sacrum, or perhaps to the back of your chair or the mat behind you, and just gently turning to look over your right shoulder. We don't want to crank the spine here. This is more about just finding a little freedom, especially in the thoracic spine. Breathing here as we gaze over the right shoulder. And coming back through center, drawing the spine up long on an inhale. And exhaling, let's twist to the second side. So right hand can come to the outside of the left thigh or knee. Left hand can come to your hip or behind the back, perhaps even to the back of your chair or the mat behind you. And then gently turning to look over that left shoulder, drawing the spine up long here, seeking that freedom in the upper back as we unstick the spine a little bit at a time. And coming back through center, inhaling, drawing the spine up long. And now, whether you're seated on the mat or in a chair, I invite you to bring the soles of your feet together or toward one another, and allowing the knees to drop open wide. On your inhale, drawing the spine up long, and on the exhale, beginning to hinge forward at the hips, reaching the hands toward the knees, the calves, ankles, or feet, gently folding forward. And if it would feel good for your body, this might be a nice time to grab a bolster or a big pillow and just sort of let yourself drape forward. Finding some opening in the hips here. You could always place a block here on top of the bolster or stack two fists and rest the forehead to find a little bit of release in this posture. Wherever you are, breathing into the hips, sinking into sensation, observing the waves of the breath, the waves of sensation that arise and eventually pass, sometimes quickly, sometimes not so quickly. Perhaps even waves of emotion. Allowing ourselves to experience these waves in life, perhaps without being carried away by them, rather surfing them and then returning to the present moment, to awareness as they rise and fall. And pressing yourself up, drawing the spine up long, letting it go, moving your prop to the side if you chose to use that. I'm going to cross my legs again, but I'm going to cross the opposite way this time. I invite you to do the same if you're sitting with crossed legs. Otherwise, simply return to your comfortable seated position. Let's take our hands and clasp them behind the back. If that's not available for you, perhaps reaching for opposite elbows or bringing hands together behind you with a strap or a sock or a towel, whatever you've got available. And beginning to open up through the chest here, perhaps looking up and finding some heart opening, breathing in and breathing out as the shoulder blades draw together, continuing to open through the upper back and the heart. And now, bringing your one fist with those hands together over to your hip. So I'm going to bring them to my right hip. And then I'm going to drop my right ear to my right shoulder, finding some opening in the side of the neck. Breathing into that left side of the neck. You might even begin turning the head a bit from side to side here as you continue to release tension, stuck energy from that side neck. And if you find a real sticky spot, maybe stopping there and breathing into that area for a few moments. And coming back through center. Let's switch that one fist to the other side, bringing it to the opposite hip. For me, that will be my left hip. And then dropping the same ear to the shoulder on the same side as your one fist. Finding some opening through the right side of the neck, if you're with me on the left. Perhaps finding some movement in that neck as you breathe into the left side neck here. Finding some release. . And again, if you find a sticky area, I invite you to stop, pause, and breathe into that part of your neck. And coming back through center. Let's now bring hands to the knees or the thighs, and we'll find some cat-cow spine movement here. So whether you're seated on the floor or you're seated on a chair, either way, let's begin by tucking the tailbone and tucking the chin, finding an arch in the spine, cat spine. Exhaling completely here. And then inhaling, lifting the heart to the sky, opening up through the heart, looking up, tipping the tailbone back only as far as feels good for our body. And moving through this cat-cow motion a few times, inhaling to cat, inhaling to cow, exhaling to cat. Truly, whatever breath pattern works for you is perfect. All about meeting your body where it is this morning. And as you continue to move through these waves of cat and cow, please feel free to take any variation of this movement that would feel good, maybe taking a few body circles here, the expression that meets your body where it is this morning, and eventually finding your way back to a long spine. And now we'll continue that same motion, but we're going to make it a little bit bigger. So I invite you to find a cat stretch, but really stretch those arms forward so that you're just deepening even further into that upper back, into the back of the neck. And then when we come up toward cow, let's cactus the arms and find an even bigger back bend through that thoracic spine, opening the heart toward the sky. And exhaling into our big stretching cat. And inhaling cactus heart opener. And continuing to flow through this motion a few times on your own. And after your next round, finding your way back to a neutral spine. Maybe taking a few shoulder rolls here, anything that feels good for your body, anything that your body is asking for or inviting. Okay, so now we're going to move into staff pose. So I'm going to remove this blanket from under my hips. Of course, please do whatever works best for your body. So whether you're seated on the mat or you're seated on a chair, please reach your legs long in front of you so that the legs are straight. Totally fine to have some bend in the knees here, all good. But finding the most comfortable version of this straight-legged posture that you can, perhaps bringing hands to the thighs or the mat beside you to assist you in really drawing the spine up long as you flex through the feet, engage the thighs. Inhale to a long spine, finding your staff pose today. Taking a few breaths here, feeling the strength of the legs, feeling the aliveness in the feet, feeling the length in the spine. And letting the toes point, maybe flexing and pointing the toes a few times here, maybe getting some movement in the ankles, a few little foot circles, if that would feel good for you. I also invite you to take a moment to give yourself a little bit of a foot massage here. Just taking a few moments to loosen up through the pads of the feet, through the arches, giving those heels a little love. Perhaps bringing it up into the Achilles tendon and or the calf. And once you've completed one side, giving yourself that same love on the other side. These feet carry us through so much in life. They don't always get the attention that they deserve. So, loosening up through those pads of the feet, the arches, perhaps the heels, maybe even the Achilles tendon and the calves. Giving some sweet love to these bodies. And reaching both legs back out in front of you when you're done. Drawing the spine up long once more. Let's take now the left foot to the outside of the right thigh if you're on the mat. If you're seated on a chair, you may want to take a figure 4. This is also a totally acceptable variation if you're on the mat and that feels better for you. So finding your spine, drawing up long, whether you're in our twist preparation or whether you're in figure 4. Staying here, totally great. If you would like to, please feel free to bring the right arm around the outside of that left knee, or perhaps just bringing the hand to the outside of the left knee, hugging that knee into the chest, and beginning to turn and look over the right shoulder, bringing the hand behind you on the mat. And if you're in a figure 4, please allow the knee to drop open, and you may feel like taking a gentle twist to the left as well. It is not required, however. Drawing the spine up long on each inhale. And again, not cranking the spine into this twist, allowing the spine to open into the twist with our breath, keeping it gentle. And releasing this posture, stretching the leg back long in front of us once more, drawing the spine up long into that staff pose. And then we'll take that twist on the second side. So either finding your figure 4 seated on the mat or on the chair, or bringing the right foot to the outside of the left thigh, drawing the spine up long, perhaps staying here, perhaps wrapping the left elbow or arm, or taking the hand to the outside of the right knee, and beginning to twist and look over your right shoulder. And again, if you are in a figure 4, you may also like to take this into a gentle twist, but this is not required. Simply an option. Finding the option that works best for your body this morning. Trusting yourself to know where to meet yourself. After all, you are the expert in your body, in your lived experience. And so you are the best decider of what to do in your practice today to support your own body. And gently releasing this twist, reaching both legs long in front of you, drawing the spine up long, and we're going to find a forward fold here. So I'm going to invite you once again to bring a pillow or bolster on top of the thighs to support the body in this forward fold. It is not required, however, it is simply an option. So whether or not you're using a prop here, drawing the spine up long, and then hinging forward at the hips, walking the hands down, down the legs, toward the feet. Totally fine if you don't get there. Knees can be as far bent as is necessary to make this comfortable on the low back, especially when we've got those tight hamstrings. Sometimes having straight legs doesn't feel so good. So if it would feel better for you to be bent here, please meet your body where it is. And really relaxing forward into this forward fold. Once again, stacking any number of props that would feel helpful and comfortable for you. And really allowing your body to relax into this forward fold. Observing the waves of sensation. Observing the waves of your breath. Riding the waves of emotion. Witnessing it all. We can contain multitudes. Returning to the breath. Taking a deep breath in and letting it go, letting this posture go, finding your way back up to a long spine. And we're going to do something very similar, but this time we're going to bring the legs wide. So whether you're in a chair or you're on the mat with me on the floor, when I'm on the mat, I like to just remove the fleshy bits from beneath my tailbone here. Helps me feel a little bit more grounded. If you're in the chair, please just open your legs wide and stretch them as straight as feels comfortable. And we're going to find a forward fold here, once again. So if you would like to use a bolster, a blanket, please feel free. Beginning with a straight spine, drawing the spine up long, and then hinging forward at the hips, walking the hands forward, coming only as far down as feels good for your body. Please do not push past an edge here. There's no required shape to make. And I know that with the weather being a little bit on the colder side here in the Bay Area, my hamstrings are tighter than they might otherwise be. So I just invite you to find the right version of this posture for your body. You might stack hands or stack fists and find a nice resting posture here in this wide-legged forward fold. In the yogic traditions, it is taught that forward folds are calming for the mind, calming for our nervous system. Breathing here, riding the waves of breath, of emotion, of sensation, as you continue to contain multitudes. And breathing deeply in and out. Beginning to come back up, finding a long spine once more. Taking any movements that would feel good for you here, maybe rolling through the shoulders, perhaps bending the knees and finding a little bit of movement from side to side, whether you're seated on the mat or on a chair. And we're going to take one more posture here before we move into tabletop if you're with me on the mat. So this is one more slightly deeper hip opener. So I invite you to take either leg to the front of the mat. Front shin is parallel to the top of the mat. And here, let me go the other side so you can see me better. And your other leg is going to bring the calf parallel to the side of your mat. So you're making sort of a 90-90 situation with those knees. And I am certainly going to use my prop for this one. I invite you to do the same if that would feel good for you. Placing it in front of my leg, in front of my knee, drawing the spine up long here. And if you're in a chair, you're also welcome to take a figure 4 here. You could do that on the mat as well. Wherever you are, whether you're in deer with me or you're in a figure 4, let's begin to walk forward over that front leg and find a forward fold here. Really breathing into that front hip as you find compression between the belly and the front hip. Allowing the body to rest here, allowing the mind to rest in the body. Observing, meeting those waves of sensation. And breathing deeply in and letting it go, beginning to press yourself back up to seated. And let's take that on the second side. So switching out those legs, whether you're meeting me in deer or you're using a figure 4 shape, either way, we're going to find similar benefits. So if you are with me on the mat, we are bringing our front shin parallel to the top of the mat and our back calf parallel to the side of the mat, making that 90-90 shape with our knees. Adjusting any props that we want to use before drawing the spine up long, whether you're in figure 4 or joining me in deer. And let's begin to hinge forward at the hips, finding that forward fold over the front knee, perhaps walking the hands out, breathing deeply into that hip as we find compression here. Attending to those waves. Perhaps beginning to sense into the pauses between the inhale and the exhale as you surf those waves of breath. Taking a deep breath in and letting it go, beginning to press back up and removing your prop out of your way. And if you're with me on the mat, please meet me in table. I'm actually going to bring my blanket with me because my knees are feeling tender. I invite you to do something similar. And if you're on a chair, please find your way back to a seated staff pose. Well, your feet can be flat on the floor, but we just want the spine to be very long and straight. So wherever you are, finding as much length in the spine as possible, with the crown of the head and the hips drawing away from one another, finding firmness in the belly. If you're in tabletop, we have our hands under our shoulders and our knees under our hips. Your feet can be, your toes can be tucked or untucked here. It's really a matter of preference and comfort for your body. And we're gonna find some cat-cow here in this shape. So inhaling, tipping the hips up to the sky, looking up toward the sky, opening through the heart. If you're seated, finding a seated cow. And exhaling through cat. Inhaling through cow. And exhaling through cat. And one last time, inhaling through cow. And exhaling through cat. Finding our way back to a neutral spine. Let's take a side stretch here. So if you're with me on the mat, we'll look over one shoulder toward that hip, bringing the hip toward the shoulder. If you are on the chair, finding once more a side opening posture here. Either way, really finding some length in the side body, breathing into that side body, and exhaling, coming over to the opposite side. If you're on the mat, looking over the shoulder comes toward the hip. If you're in the chair, finding this nice side body opener, breathing into that side body, unsticking through those ribs just a bit. And let's flow from side to side a few times here as we continue to unstick, awaken through the spine. And coming back through center. If you're with me on the mat, please step your right toes back behind you and then cross those toes behind the left ankle so that they're outside of the left side of your mat. And we're going to turn and look over that right shoulder as well toward the left shoulder toward those right toes, finding an even deeper side body opener here. And if you are in a chair, I invite you to find the side body stretch, but with your legs open wide. So still finding a side body opener, but simply taking it a little bit wider. Breathing into the side body, the hip, the ribs, feeling it all. And coming back through center, drawing the spine long. And then let's take that on the second side. So if you're on the mat, stepping left toes back, crossing those left toes behind the right knee, turning to look over that right shoulder at the left toes. If you're on the mat, on the chair, please take a side body stretch with wide legs once more, taking it to the opposite side. Breathing into the hip, the ribs, the side body, and coming back through center, finding a long spine. And if you're on the mat with me, bringing the toes toward one another, bringing the knees out as wide as the mat, sitting the hips back to or towards the heels, walking the hands forward into child's pose. And if you're seated on a chair, please take a seated forward fold here. So hinging forward at the hips, finding that compression in the hips. You may want to take this as a wide-legged forward fold from the chair if that feels comfortable in your hips, in your low back. Breathing into the hips. Attending to the waves of the breath, the waves of sensation, of emotion. And coming back up either to your seated posture or to tabletop. Finding length in the spine wherever you are. Inhaling and sweeping your right arm up to the sky or out to the side. If you're on the mat, please thread the needle, bringing that right hand behind the left wrist, right shoulder to the mat, right ear to the mat, perhaps walking the left arm out in front of you. If you're taking this posture in a chair, please bring the right arm across your body and find a shoulder opener here. So whether you are threading the needle or taking the seated shoulder opener, really breathing into that right shoulder, allowing the opening to happen. If you're with me on the floor, please walk the left hand in. Everyone, please sweep the right arm open, inhaling and exhale. Return to your seated posture or your tabletop posture, drawing the spine long. And we'll take that on the opposite side. Inhaling, left arm open, either up to the sky or out to the side. And then exhaling, finding your shoulder stretch. So perhaps bringing the left hand behind the right wrist, left shoulder, left ear to the mat, walking right hands forward, right fingers forward, or bringing the left arm across the body and finding a shoulder stretch in your seated position. Wherever you are, breathing into the shoulder, inviting space, inviting length, inviting fresh energy. And releasing this shape, bringing the right hand under the right shoulder if you're with me on the mat, sweeping the arm up and open either way, and returning to your seated or tabletop position, drawing the spine long. Just taking a moment here to observe the body, to observe the heart, the emotions, to observe the mind. And if you're with me on the mat, I'm going to move my blanket off to the side for the next little bit here. And we're going to continue with a few heart opening, spine opening postures. So walking the hands forward, finding a modified plank. If you're on a chair, please place hands on the thighs and really draw the spine long. Finding firmness in the belly, engaging through the glutes, the thighs, the back. And lowering onto the belly if you're with me on the mat. We're going to take a few rounds of cobra. If you are practicing from a chair, please use cactus instead to find the same opening in the spine. So inhaling, raising chest off the floor, or finding a cactus arm position in your chair, and exhaling, releasing. Inhaling, heart opener, exhale, release. Inhale, cobra or cactus, and exhale, release. And now I invite you to bring the arms out wide. If you're with me on the mat, we will find a Superman, and if you are on a chair, simply finding a heart opener with wide arms. So inhaling, lifting the chest, lifting the arms, lifting the legs off the mat, or opening the heart toward the sky with arms out wide from your chair. Breathing here for a moment. Feeling the strength in the back of the body, feeling the strength in the glutes and the hamstrings, and letting it go. Taking a moment here. Bringing hands beneath the shoulders if you're with me on the mat, pressing up to a plank position. If you are in a chair, please take a wide-legged forward fold from here. If you're with me on the mat, please tuck your toes, coming through a high plank, and then lifting hips up to the sky for a downward facing dog. Breathing here. Inhale the right leg up, and then open the hip toward the sky. Breathing here. Coming back through three-legged dog, and back to downward facing dog, taking a breath. Inhaling left leg up to the sky, and opening up through the hip. And exhaling back to three-legged dog, bringing the left foot back to the mat, downward facing dog. And then slowly begin to walk your way to the front of the mat and meet me in a forward fold. And this is where I'm going to invite anyone who has been practicing from a chair to join us in our short standing series here before we move onto our backs. So finding a nice forward fold, your knees can be as bent as needed to be supportive for the body. Perhaps taking hold of opposite elbows, maybe getting a little movement here in the spine. And then settling into your forward fold for a moment. Inhaling, finding a long spine, halfway lift here, drawing the crown away from the hips. And exhaling, folding forward once more. And inhaling, let's roll up to standing, one vertebra at a time. Make any adjustments to yourself or your costume that you need. And find yourself in mountain pose, pressing through all four corners of the feet. Spine is long. Inhaling, arms up to the sky. Taking now your left wrist in your right hand and coming up and over for one more nice side body stretch here. And inhaling back through center, taking hold of the right wrist with the left hand, coming up and over here. Nice side body opener. And coming back through center, finding mountain pose, bringing hands to the hips, shifting weight into the right foot. We're going to find one-legged mountain. So for you, that could look like just kickstanding your left feet so that your toes are on the mat. Perhaps you inhale the leg up off of the mat and find this one-legged mountain posture. Whatever works for you. Foot down, foot up, just a breath here. And then gently stepping that foot back, finding a crescent pose. So feet should be at least hip widths apart. And you can take this as shallow or as deep as you would like. So stepping far back or not very far back, it's really all about what works for you. Inhaling here, inhaling the arms up to the sky. And exhaling, let's take hold of that left wrist and lean over just a little bit, finding that opening through the side body. Inhaling back to crescent, and exhaling, let's cactus the arms and open the heart to the sky. Once more, inhaling, arms to the sky, and exhaling to warrior two, pivoting that back heel to the mat, coming as far down in the front leg as feels good, but not farther. Reaching forward with the right fingertips, reaching back with the left fingertips. Breathing here. And then straightening both legs, sweeping the right arm up and back for reverse triangle. Right hand can come to the left hand can come to the hip or to the back of the left thigh. Looking up at those fingertips if it feels good on the neck. And exhaling back to warrior two. Let's straighten that front leg once more. Step the back foot in just a bit. Square our hips toward the front of the mat. And begin walking the hands down the thigh for a forward fold. Perhaps staying up here. Perhaps walking a little bit further down. Finding the variation of pyramid that feels good for your body. We'll just be here for a breath. And then turning toward the long edge of your mat and finding a wide-legged forward fold. And when I say wide-legged, please find the width that works for your body. So you might have a shorter stance, or you might have a longer stance. It's all good. Whatever feels good for your body. And from here, please roll up to standing one vertebra at a time, expanding through the chest, reaching to the sides of the room for 5-pointed star, before finding your way back into warrior two, very briefly. Framing the right foot with the hands, stepping that left foot up to meet the right foot, taking a forward fold, rolling up to mountain, one vertebra at a time, bringing hands to the hips, shifting weight over to the left foot now, either kickstanding that right foot or lifting the foot off the mat. Breathing here, stepping back into crescent, taking a moment, inhaling the arms up, finding a side bend over to the left, inhaling back to the sky, exhaling, finding a heart opener here, inhaling, arms back to the sky, opening through warrior two, taking a breath here, straightening the front leg, inhaling, left arm up and back, before exhaling back to warrior two, walking that back foot in for a little pyramid, and finding your variation of pyramid here. however far it feels good to go. Just a breath here before pivoting toward the long edge of the mat and finding your wide-legged forward fold. Of course, you can be up as far as you need to be. And then rolling up to 5-pointed star on this side. Coming back into Warrior 2 once more. And stepping to the top of the mat. Taking a moment. Breathing in and breathing out. And let's make our way onto our backs. So if you are joining me on the mat, please find a nice, comfortable position on the back, drawing the knees into the chest, perhaps rocking side to side for just a moment. Let's take the right ankle to the left knee. Allow the right knee to fall open. You might stay here, or you might draw that shape in toward your chest, grasping behind the hamstring or around the shin, breathing into that right hip there for just a moment. And then perhaps snuggling that right knee closer into the left knee, or bringing knees side to side and finding a little twist here. Looking over the opposite shoulder. Coming back through center. Hugging knees in if it feels good. Dropping right foot to the mat, bringing left ankle to right knee, letting the left knee fall open, perhaps staying here, maybe drawing that in, grasping behind the hamstring or around the shin. And then taking the same twist that you took on the first side on the second side. Looking over the opposite shoulder. And letting that go. Drawing the knees into the chest before finding your way to a final resting posture. Drawing the legs long, arms long on the mat. Imagining that with each exhale, you could melt into your mat, allowing the integration of the work you've done here today with your body, your mind, your emotion, and the nervous system. Taking a moment to offer a prayer of gratitude to yourself for showing up today, and a prayer of gratitude for your body for carrying you through this practice and through all of life. Taking a moment to observe the breath and the pause between the inhale and exhale, the pause between the exhale and inhale. And now, beginning to awaken through the fingers and the toes. Maybe taking a nice stretch through the arms and the legs, blinking the eyes open. And you're welcome to remain on your back or find your way through a stop on your favorite side up to a seated position. Or I will just say, thank you so much for joining me for this edition of Befriending Our Bodies. And I hope to see you again next month. Namaste. Thank you so much.